Our next speaker, Brother Ayub Sidat, no relation as far as we're aware, is the CEO here for Youth, and he's been in the Muslim charity sector for over 15 years, collaborating with some of the world's leading outreach, education and community development organizations. In the UK, he oversees a network of more than 70 mosques and community centers and over 600 trained youth leaders who engage with more than 2,000 teenagers each week. Mosques have a long history of positive involvement with civil society, from food banks and humanitarian aid to homeless shelters and vaccination clinics. Research shows that teenagers need a local, safe space staffed by culturally competent youth leaders or trusted adults. Mosques are the most underused resource in our community. By transforming a mosque into an ideal youth club, they can motivate and empower teenagers to be confident in their identity and provide access to peers and local mentors or role models who help develop strong, positive character traits, preparing them for a lifetime of success.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That introduction was so comprehensive, I don't think I need to say anything. I think we could just go straight into Q&A. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's a pleasure to join you all on, thankfully, a cooler day than we've had this week. I was really anxious at the beginning of the week that the AC wouldn't be able to cope with, sweltering 38-degree heat. But, we've caught a break, alhamdulillah. Charity starts at home. This is a really interesting topic, and it's doubly interesting for everyone sat in the room here. Now, we're in a very unique gathering. Everyone who's here is, a professional in one sense or another. You work for a charity, you're involved in charitable projects, and you have the freedom and the flexibility in your life to be able to take time out to attend a conference like this. So that makes you super privileged. In the Muslim charity sector, you are probably in the top 0.25% of people who do charity work. Because the majority of people in our space, in our sector, are volunteers. They give their time, they give their evenings, they give their weekends, every moment that they have to do this work. So reflecting on the blessing of even being in this room, it's important for us as well to make sure that charity starts at home. Last year, or a few years ago, I was delivering a youth session at a mosque in South London. And one of the, after the session, this is for teenagers, and after the session, one of the mums comes up to me and she says, thank you for the session, my teenager really appreciated it. Can I ask you for some help? I said, absolutely, how could I help? She said, my husband is also involved in the charity sector, very active, does lots of amazing outreach work, but he's away from home, we don't see him. Could you help me with some money to pay for the kids' madrasa fees? So whilst we are busy, and this morning we talked about impact, we're all working on impactful projects, with the topic charity starts at home, for us in this room, at this conference, charity really needs to start at home. Really needs to. Because the actions that we put forth, the barakah, the blessings, and the work that we do will emanate from our own lives. And that's what we'll carry forward. If you want to see impact, we had a great session this morning. Another word for impact, or to see that impact, is barakah. And if your life itself is devoid of barakah, of blessings, if your connection with your Creator isn't there, then that will translate directly into the work that you do. So when we say charity begins at home, charity starts at home, I wanted to start by starting with us. And us in this room, fortunate, blessed to be able to attend the conference in the middle of the week. And that directly relates to the youth leaders and the communities that we work with. So as Shakil mentioned, Sidat as well, no relation. You can tell because, our ancestors decided to diverge and change the spelling of our surnames, thankfully, just to set us apart. For, I would say, 99% of the youth leaders, the youth workers that we've trained and coached, nearly 700 of them all over the country, when Taha showed the map, all the areas of highest deprivation, I realized, looking at your map, were all the areas where we have the highest concentration of our youth clubs, subhanAllah. And this is a trait that's synonymous with the Muslim community. Where the community is in need, the community steps up. So when I looked at the map, I was like, subhanAllah, in all those dark blue areas, I could point to where we have services for teenagers. So as Shakil mentioned, alhamdulillah, as an organization, we oversee more than 70 mosques and community organizations all over the country, nearly 700 youth leaders impacting thousands of teenagers every week. But what those youth leaders have in common with you and with everyone in the charity sector here is that they're volunteers. They're giving their time, they're giving their efforts. And again, this is their evening and weekend after spending a whole week working. Now, if I was to ask a question to the room, how many, like any sector, we have teachers, qualified professionals that have been through training, etc. How many qualified youth workers do you think serve the 70-odd communities that we work with? Let's just throw a number out. 4. Any higher than 4? 4's an interesting number. Why 4? Whoever said 4. So yeah, we work with 70 communities. Roughly, I think just over 50% of those are mosques, the others are all community centers. How many paid, qualified, full-time, part-time youth workers do you think serve those 70 communities? 10. Any higher than 10? Going on. 20? Anyone else? The answer is actually 5. So number 4 wins. See me at the end for a prize. And this is indicative of the state of the sector. That even in our microcosm of the youth work sector, there are only 5 paid youth workers, part-time, full-time, who are serving, this huge network, which means that the rest of the sector is all led by volunteers. Now, contrast that with half the Muslim population in the UK, more than 2 million Muslims, being under the age of 25. And according to the MCB, by 2031, there will be more than 500,000 teenagers. 500,000 Muslim teenagers. Investment is sorely needed. And if we don't invest in our young people, if we don't invest in these programs, we can look at the communities around us, and the situations and the state that young people are in. And we're already seeing, we've talked about poverty, we talked about crime, we talk about, earlier we talked about the prison population. But this is just the start of that bell curve. And if that doesn't frighten you, it should. This is the start of the bell curve. Our population is young, our population is growing, and without engagement, without safe places, without mentors for them to reach, it will only continue to grow. The gap will only continue to widen. So as an organization, that's why I'm here. As an organization, we work with communities on the ground. Our aim is to ensure, one of our visions is to ensure that every young person, every teenager, has access to a safe space and mentors in their local area. I've heard horror stories of people traveling 2-3 hours by bus just to attend a session or a class that lasts for 45 minutes and then traveling 2-3 hours back. It's not sustainable. We need to be creating local safe spaces where young men, young women can come in and find a home away from home. Find mentors there. We heard earlier today about culturally competent, or what was the phrase? Yeah. Culturally competent with regards to our impact. And that's exactly what our youth leaders need to be. The sessions that we help create and the organizations that we help establish all over the country, the mentors are there to be a guide for young people. The mentors are there to give them someone to talk to. The space is there as a safe space where they can come and be on their phone, and they can come and play PS4, and they can come and do whatever they want to do, but they're in a safe and supportive environment. Now, circling all the way back to those mentors and back to where charity starts at home, there's a huge amount of investment needed. There are only 5 youth workers, qualified youth workers that we know serving the communities that we work with. As an organization, and I can see Aftab looking at me at the back there because I've been talking to him about this for so long, and he's like, why have you not talked to me about this more? And may Allah bless the Aziz Foundation sitting over there. But one of the things that we are working on is trying to address this gap, and investment is needed on taking the nearly 700 youth leaders that we've created over the last few years and channeling them into professional pathways so that they can become qualified youth workers. They can deliver their services. I wouldn't say a professional service because they're already professional, but they can deliver a service that is recognized. They can deliver a service that is much more impactful for the Muslim community. This is a really important topic. Charity starts at home, especially with regards to all of us in the room today. We all represent organizations. It's important to remember that when our organizations were founded, for the majority of them, we're a community of immigrants. We're a diaspora community. And so the founders of the majority of the organizations, that's what they were focused on. They were focused on serving the needs of their communities back home. What does home mean now? For most people now, home is the UK, especially for most teenagers, in fact, for all teenagers. We recently completed a piece of research with Goldsmiths University where we looked into what does a Muslim youth identity look like? And young people identify themselves most of the time, in fact all of the time, as I'm Muslim and a Brahmi. I'm Muslim and a Londoner. I'm Muslim, and so we have to understand that when we're talking about charity beginning at home, and Jamila's question about what does home look like, as charity leaders, as leaders in the sector, as people who work in this space, it's now our responsibility to take what has been built, the legacies that we have, and now focus it. Ask yourself the question of every pound that you raise or spend, how much of it is going to the UK? And this is something that I speak to people in the charity sector about a lot, is that if we don't invest in the UK, that charity base, those donors that you love so much and they give you so much money, in 5 years, in 10 years, they won't exist, because you will look no different to them than Comic Relief. You will look no different to them than Oxfam. If you don't maintain that bond with your community, if you don't help them to maintain their identity, if you don't invest in the UK, in the Muslim community. So with that, I will conclude, and the only thing I would say is that charity starts at home. It starts with us, our families, and extends out into the communities. And if there's a broken link along the way, you'll feel it in the work that you do. So may Allah give us all sincerity and accept the work that we do, and may we see the benefit and the barakah of it in this life and the next. Ameen.